We are at the IFA in Las Vegas, and I have another special guest, my friend Missy Wright, VP of Franchise Development for 5-Star Franchising.
Up next.
With the right brand, the right systems, there's success at the end of that.
There's a lot of fun people in franchising.
No, that's why no one leaves.
This episode sponsored by SEO Samba. Empower your franchise with predictable results and AI-driven marketing.
Welcome, Missy.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
So I am excited to have you, and tell me about IFA, the Women's Franchise Committee and the whole network thing, what you do here at IFA and what is so valuable.
Honestly, I feel like I've been going to IFA for 12 years, and most people stumble into franchising, as you know, and so when you get in, there's so much you don't know, and to see people who have been doing it for decades longer, to be able to learn from them, and I have been really lucky to find mentors, but that community as well. And so it's my first year on the Women's Franchise Committee for the IFA, and it's just championing women in leadership within the industry. So yesterday we put on our annual leadership meeting, and we had hundreds of people there doing case studies, learning best practices. But I also get to hang out with my friends in franchising, which I'd be lying if I didn't say that was my favorite part. It's a big reunion every year when we get to come here.
There's a lot of fun people in franchising.
I mean, I feel like it's the most fun. That's why no one leaves.
We all have a franchise family here. So interestingly, I think kicked it off talking about women. Mm-hmm. Years ago, because I've been in franchising over 30 years, and years ago, the typical franchise owner was a 50-year-old guy.
Yep.
And now that was retiring from the one job that he had for 25, 30 years. Nowadays, we're getting women, kids popping into franchising in their 20s, 30s. What are you seeing?
I mean, it's such a mix of that. I do think that there's so many people where back even when I was younger, it was you need to go to college, get your degree, get your career. And now with a lot of our brands, we see people where their parents aren't telling them to go to college. They have that entrepreneurial bone. And instead of spending the finances to send them to college, they're investing in businesses. But you also see the person who their boss just told them to fire somebody for the last time, and they want to take control of their future. So that is, I mean, that's probably my favorite side of it, because we are changing lives through business ownership, and you watch that control happen. Or the guy that was on the road, never saw his kids, missed every single soccer game, and they're coming back in because they want to have that synergy, that balance that's there. So it's such a mix, and I think that's probably the best thing about franchising. It doesn't matter your age, your gender, your background. With the right brand, the right systems, there's success at the end of that, as long as they lean into the systems and the coaching.
So 5-Star, why is 5-Star so good? And what's your favorite 5-Star brand?
I feel like that's going to get me in trouble.
Is this like kids? You can't say who your favorite is?
You can absolutely have a favorite kid as well, as long as it's not the same favorite as
why not
your
a favorite
spouse.
brand then? Come on.
I love the brands for different reasons. I think that kind of plays in. But why I think 5-Star franchising is just winning on those sides of it is we're so true to the fundamentals of who we are, the core values. It's called the 5-Star Drive. So we are driven, we are real, we are innovative, we are vital, and we are enthusiastic. And you will find that from every employee. We hire and we fire by it, but we bring it up in the sales process, the discovery process. So we know that our franchisees are in alignment, our brand presidents are in alignment. And it also helps in our major purpose as a brand is to empower our franchisees' success. And that's how we make decisions. It's not just about the dollars and cents. And while that is a piece of what has to obviously be in the discussion for long-term success, every decision always comes back to how does this empower their success? When we bring on a team member or a new initiative or technology. And so to see that play out in every conversation was what brought me here, but it's something that I'm really passionate about. That's the enthusiastic part of Drive. So favorite brand, I oversee half of our portfolio. So I have Card My Yard, Mosquito Shield, and Got You Covered. I personally love Card My Yard because our house is the party house. Like we throw Valentine's Day parties and birthday parties, and getting to celebrate every moment in life is such a big thing. So I think I'm most passionate about that brand, but it's also the one I could probably see myself owning. Business model, it's probably going to be Mosquito Shield just because I love the legacy brand that builds for something to pass on.
So Card My Yard, it's putting these celebratory a baby's coming.
Yes.
You're pregnant, and there's a stork type thing on the lawn.
Well, it's part of it, but you can also do like back to school, graduation.
Right, all that.
Yeah. Birthday parties. We did it for our son's 5th birthday, and they had a Lego themed one, and he was glowing. Just had the best time.
And that's a super low cost brand.
Yes, it's a $12,000 investment. And so it started with 2 stay-at-home moms who had a passion for the community. They're the joy bringers. Like that is who our franchisees are. And so it's 24-hour card rental. It's the simplest business model, and it's 5 to 10 hours a week.
And then with Mosquito Shield. So pest control, mosquito control. What do you love so much about that brand? Because I'm going to make you tell us about the good stuff in each of these brands.
Here's the thing. I obviously did not wake up just passionate about mosquito abatement. But I think for me, what clicked is we have a 2-year-old, and a tornado had ripped through our neighborhood, knocked out the power. And so she was, I think, 4 months at the time. And so I walked to go get cell phone signal to let my husband know we were safe. And I learned very quickly she was allergic to mosquitoes. Well, here's the thing. She's 2. Sun's out, Crocs are on. She wants to be in the backyard. If it wasn't for a mosquito shield, that moment's not happening. So I think as a mom, we're creating memories, and that is a piece. It's a lifestyle brand, regardless of pest control. But as a business model, I've also seen, just candidly, the leadership team there is amazing. They're passionate about their franchisees. We are seeing the highest same-store sales that we've ever seen in the company's history because of empowering their success, the changes we've made. But it's a legacy brand. You build year after year. It's a reoccurring revenue model. It's low cost. It's no brick and mortar. It's high margin. And so it's really easy to get behind the business model side of it. And you watch these franchisees who have been doing it for 10 years, and you're like, what are you doing for the winter, right? It's closed. There's no mosquitoes, luckily. And they're ice fishing, or they're spending time with their kids. And that is, when you think about the balance within business ownership, it is a model that provides that for them. And that has been really easy to get behind and just tell the story of.
And the other brand that you handle has got you covered. And I had John on, as you know, in Wisconsin.
Yes.
And John said he was going to do, last year, he was going to do about $3 million in revenue.
Yep.
And he was going to net $1 million. And I almost fell out of my chair. And he said, yeah, there's really big margins. I said, 33% is pretty big margins.
Yes.
I should say so. And he has other franchises with his wife as well, but really loves his experience with Got You Covered. And as you know, the validation from successful franchisees is a big piece of this process, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we've completely even redone our validation process this last year. We have had 27 owners do live calls with our candidates going through the process. It's all recorded, so the library is there, and we've never had to repeat a validator in the last 8 months. And that, I think, is special because normally brands have a tendency to cherry pick who they want to talk to. They can call anybody, and the margins are consistent, the business model is consistent, the feedback is consistent, and we're seeing that translate into the candidates.
So in every brand, there's always the bottom performers. What are the people on the bottom doing that the people on the top are not?
I think every brand's going to have the bell curve, right? The same 4 things are going to place them in that. Does not matter the model. It is their ability to recruit and lead a team, drive the systems and processes, the ability to market the business, and it's then their traits and attributes. When you visit with a bottom performer, they may love what they're doing. They might be a great person, but their business is happening to them. They're not happening to the business. They might not be taking the feedback. Even if they have a stellar week, you go, hey, what'd you do? They can't tell you. Because it's luck, it's chance versus going out there and being proactive. And then they live in the weeds. We've all heard analysis paralysis. At a certain point, you got to make a decision. And not making a decision sometimes is just as detrimental to the business as making the wrong one.
You totally described the classic busy person that gets nothing done.
Yes.
Are they driving sales? Are they making sure they're hiring the best staff? One of my favorite tricks is I'd always be hiring.
Yeah.
And I'd literally have a roster of people on my list that were pre-hired so that when I needed somebody, and I was in the restaurant business, I had someone on the list. In fact, I was interviewing my former partner who has been a franchisee in the restaurant business for over 30 years today. And I remember I was on vacation one day and he called me, who's on that on-call list you have? I said, I have like 5 people. Great, I need one person. Great. They're already pre-hired.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's just being proactive in everything that you do. And I think most business models aid themselves to that. You've got a staff that is at the home office who is just as invested in your success. So if you don't think something's working, pick up the phone and call them. But the bottom 20% doesn't do that.
So are women more inclined to pick certain brands than men?
I think potentially. I mean, I've had the pleasure of working paint and sip brands, which most of our franchisees were women. Automotive, most of our franchisees were men. So I do think that there is an attraction to that. What's really interesting about home services is I don't think that's the case. They're looking for stability and balance, and then they're looking at the model because they're doing the risk calculation. And as long as the model is there, I don't think they care what the brand is.
And what's the easiest way to make money that looks like it makes sense?
Yeah, exactly.
It's practical.
Yes. That's why home services, I think, is such a niche market, and it's not going anywhere. AI can't replace it.
Speaking of AI, how is AI going to further enhance and is enhancing today? Give us an example of how it's helping today with you guys.
Well, I think about our directors as they're prepping for meetings, they're taking notes, but you can have an AI note taker sitting there taking the notes on the call, so you can just be fully engaged and not worrying about typing. And then they have those notes, and as they're preparing for the next meeting, they should be reading them. And so you can say, hey, prep me for this meeting, and it pulls it right up versus them having to scroll. And so I think it's removing tasks that are more minuscule so they can actually spend time in the conversation, building the relationship versus doing the admin. And so that's been a really good one. I personally love it for when I get tongue-tied on an issue or how to respond to something. I go, this is the gist of it. Can you just professionalize this a little bit for me? Or just if you're stale on content or that side of it, having a new fresh take. Now, you should always proofread it. You cannot just copy and paste. We all know what those LinkedIn posts look like. But it is a good way to jog just the brain on something new.
When it comes to hiring, most franchisees or first-time business owners in the process deciding what brands they might be doing, they're scared to death about hiring people. And so what tips do you have for the audience looking to be a first-time business owner? How do you hire today? What's the easiest way to identify who's good for you?
I think there's two things. One, use your circle. I think about it from the sense of like, get the yang to your yang. Do not hire somebody who is directly like you. Your circle knows you best. And so if I was hiring a general manager, I'd say, hey, who do you, I go to my church or my networking group, and who do you know? There's an opportunity there. There's immediately the speed of trust. So I think that happens a ton. I also think my other tip is like, what are your core values? Hire for those. You can teach the talent side of it. And I think that people assume that you have to hire somebody who has this background or that background. Most skills are learnable, but you cannot teach culture and core values. And so that is what I would look for above all else. One of my best directors on my team had no experience coming in, but who he is as a person was so in line with what we do, and we get there a lot faster because of that, because we can train the rest.
So in the process where you're selecting franchisees, brokers like me might refer people to you, and they start the process with you. Yeah. That process is taking on average how many days these days?
30 to 45 days, start to finish.
And in this process, at what point or what percentage of people do you have to kick out of the process because they don't check all the boxes for you? Maybe it's an attitude problem, you realize, somewhere in the process.
I mean, your no's are just as important as your yeses when it comes to building a system. So we close anywhere between 1 in 10 to 1 in 20 candidates that come into the process. Dependent on lead source, I think, is a big piece of that. Working with consultants helps shrink some of that droppage because we do have a good persona and we spend a lot of time making sure y'all know it. But dropout looks different from every side of it. So I would expect anywhere between 20 to 40 people dropping out between the intro call and the brand review, 20 people dropping off after the brand review. Meet the team day, honestly, it should be less than 85% because otherwise they're not properly prepped. So it just depends on where they're at in the process for their learning.
Are you doing Meet the Team days only virtually, or you offer in person as well?
Most of our brands do them virtually. This is the first company where I've not done them in person. Our close rates are actually pretty similar. but we've spent a lot of time curating the experience to make sure that they have the information they need to make the decision at the end.
I still think post-COVID, even the folks that did the in-person discovery days said, during COVID, we had to do it virtually. I think we're good with that.
I also think the investment level plays a lot into that. If I'm spending $500,000, I'd like to probably spend time in person. Our investments are all very low. They're $150,000 or less. And so that is a little bit easier to do on the virtual space. And our brand presidents are amazing at making sure they're accessible and having those conversations early to create that comfort level.
So low investment, $150,000 or so, you can end up with multiple territories. We were talking about John, it got you covered.
Yeah.
Doesn't take many territories to do really well.
Yeah, and I think that varies based on brand. So for like Mosquito Shield, for example, 2 to 3 is kind of the sweet spot for most people. The average franchisee owns 5. But it's because most get into 1 and they go, oh, we can do more. And it's very zip code based. But that is more of the engaged investor model, what we call day-to-day without the spray. Got you covered as owner-operator. If you have more than 2 territories, it's going to be hard to cover that effectively. And so we'd rather them be highly effective with few versus less efficient with many.
Day-to-day without the spray. Missy, all your years in franchising, you started very young. Yes. And you're still young.
Yeah.
All this great experience. A lot of people talking about acquisitions. I want to buy an existing business. I don't want a franchise. I have to pay fees. I have to pay a franchise fee. I have to pay royalties. What do you say to those folks, and how do you defend both cases?
I think there's a place for both in the market, candidly, but it depends on the business model. If you, for example, we have so many people who come, they go, I only want an existing business. Great. Does it have recurring revenue? What does the brand presence look like? What is the upside? Everybody wants to buy a business at its peak. Why? I'd rather buy a business that's struggling in a fantastic market with great systems and let that scale if I was going to take over existing. But most of the time, if it's not a reoccurring revenue model, if the systems in place are already there, I would never let that be a determining factor on if I want a brand. I'd pick the brand and the business opportunity first, and then the availability is what's going to dictate resale or new. But I do think every brand should create a very transparent, easy resale or transition department because it is different. You have to evaluate the business differently, look at the debt side of it. But it is always interesting when people say, I only want to resale. And I go, that's interesting for this model, especially in home services.
It is interesting to me when people say, I only want to resale. And I ask why. And they say, well, they give me all kinds of examples and reasons as to why they think, but they don't really answer the question. Yeah. And it comes down to they think it's easier. Mm-hmm. I said, number one, if it's in a successful business, you're paying for someone else's success. Yeah. And nobody wants a business that's struggling. They want a business that's very successful. Yeah. So you're going to pay $1.5 million to $2 million for a successful business. Now you're betting you're going to make it better. Mm-hmm. Number one, you're going into lots of debt, and you're hoping and praying that those employees don't quit.
Mm-hmm. Which they almost always do.
Absolutely. And more than likely, it's not a franchise because the best franchise resales are typically going to be sold to other franchisees.
Yes, which is great validation.
Absolutely. So now you're all by yourself in a business without the employees. You have no knowledge, and you just bet the farm that you're smarter than the previous owner that owned it for 15 years. Yeah. I don't think so.
No, and I think that's where consultants are such a big piece of it. I do think that most people, when they go to buy any business, they have no idea what they're doing. Rightfully so. It's a brand new experience. And so they're basing it off of a gut or a hunch or like some uncle told them it was a good idea without really looking at all the options that are there. And so, yeah, to your point, they're usually standalones, and the success is almost never duplicated because they're not factoring in what the owner did or the staff or all of like the special sides of it. And if it's not a franchise, there's no systems, which raises their risk, and they don't realize that.
So all of your years in franchising, think of some of the top franchisees, the top 10 franchisees you've ever seen. What are the traits that they have?
They are going to be the first to ask for help. They're also going to be the first to give help. And I think that is such a big piece. A rising tide floats all ships, and their success has nothing to do with your success. And so they're not just keeping everything in for themselves. So I think that's always something I look for, but they've got an ever growth mindset. So they're the person that goes, great, I did 3 million in sales. I'm going to do 3.2 and it does not matter what the rest of the system's doing. They use data not for analysis paralysis, but they use it to make enough. I've got enough data, enough to make the decision and let's move now. And then I think they build the systems around them too. So there's something to be said about community. So they're putting themselves into peer groups. Everybody knows who the top performer is at the home office because they're plugged in and utilizing the systems. We just had our rookie of the year. Her name is Sabrina Martin with Gotcha Covered. And she just was off to the races. She's absolutely amazing. And our brand president said, Sabrina, what did you do? And she goes, I just did exactly what I learned at training. But it doesn't, it's raining, can still do the meeting. Oh, this person canceled, great, what can I do in between? She is in full control and takes responsibility for her business and then executes on the systems. And all of that has just been amazing to watch her succeed with.
I think it's incredibly telling when you ask her what she's done.
Mm-hmm.
And the answer is simply that she followed the system.
Just did what I was told.
And likewise, the folks that aren't doing as well are trying to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah, it's always so interesting to me. Why would I spend $150,000 to do it on my own? Like, you bought the systems. That is what you invested in. And so I love watching people lean in and see the fruits of that, because it's also a testament to what the team's doing as well.
You have been an amazing guest. Now, time for the final thoughts, final words of wisdom from Missy Wright. Talk to the first-timers looking at business ownership, and maybe they're interested in 5-star. Mm-hmm. Give them a piece of advice, because you have a big, wide background.
Yeah.
How do people narrow down what they look at? Maybe somebody's interested in automotive or wine and painting or home services, senior home care. How do they know where to start? Besides working with me, of course.
Yeah, obviously. So go to you first. I think from there, I like to call it the decision criteria list. And so it's no different than when you buy your first house. I want 4 bedrooms, 3 bath, fenced in yard because we've got the dog. It needs to be in our budget. Has good school systems. Buying a business is very similar. Do you want brick and mortar? No brick and mortar. Do you want lots of employees? No employees. Do you want quick ramp up or long-term vision? And then rank that and be really honest with yourself too. I think people come in and they go, oh, I love dogs, so I should buy a dog franchise. That might not align with your decision criteria list, but when you know what you're looking for, it's really easy to say no to things fit quickly and then narrow in on what you're looking for. And so I feel like if I've worked all over the side of it, that exercise will work in every brand. And we use it with our candidates as well. Because our job is we don't sell franchises, we award them. And if they're not a good fit, we'd rather have that conclusion come early.
You are excellent, and thank you for being here, my friend.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure.